Hello, this is Mr. Wynn. This is the first video of the Chapter 8 Part 2 test review. First off, here are the topics. Multiplying is 3 steps, adding is 5 steps, graphing is 3 steps, solving is 5 steps, and variation. You can pause it here and to read, but you should know the steps. The first cautionary test looks like this. For what values of x is the following expression undefined? Undefined just means where are the restrictions. So my restrictions come from the bottom, so I actually don't even need to factor the top at all. I notice from the bottom there's 3 terms. I must check GCF, but there is none, so then I do the x method. On top is a times c, which is 1 times 4 is 4. On bottom it's b. b here is -5. I gotta find 2 numbers that multiply 4, add or subtract to 5. Now because the top and bottom is 1 off from each other, I know it's the top number and 1. Now that you have the numbers, you figure out the signs. Since the bottom is negative, the bigger number has to be negative. And if I know at -4 for sure, do I have to add or subtract 1 to get -5? Well, I subtract 1. Then you check the multiplication. A negative times a negative is a positive, which does match the top. Next, you gotta do parentheses. The letters x, so x minus 4, parentheses x minus 1. And then divide by a. A here is 1. Divide by a doesn't do anything. So technically, the top I'm not going to worry about. I'm just leave it alone. So we could factor it. The bottom is x minus 4, x minus 1. So now I find my restrictions. Well, my restrictions are x cannot be positive 4 and positive 1. That's it. Alright. So that's restrictions, and they say that's it. Number 2, simplify. This is a multiplication problem, 3 steps. Remember the steps are factor everything, restrictions, then cancel out. For the top left, 3 terms, no GCF, so I do the x method. I'll do it over here. On top is -8, on bottom is -2. I had to find 2 numbers. Well, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 minus 2 is 2, so those are my numbers. Bottom's negative, so the bigger number is negative, and I have to add 2 to the -4 to get -2. A negative times positive is negative. I do the parentheses, t minus 4, t plus 2. Then I got to divide by a. A is 1. 1 doesn't do anything, so my top left is t minus 4, t plus 2. I'm to the bottom left. It is 2 terms. There's no GCF. Since it's quadratic, I can keep going, so I'm going to do the square root, difference of squares. When I square both of them, I get t and 2. That makes 2 parentheses. So t, 2, 2, plus, minus. My first fraction's done. My second fraction. 2 terms, so 14 minus 8, I gotta do GCF first. And this one does have a GCF. The GCF is 4. When I take out 4, I have a t minus 2 left. Remember, you must check your GCF and break down more. 4 turns into 2 times 2, and that t minus 2 is already prime. There's nothing I can do with it. I already did GCF, and it's linear, so you leave it alone. So the top right is 2 times 2, parentheses t minus 2. And then the last one, the bottom right, it's 3 terms, no GCF, so I do the x method. On top, I have positive 8, bottom's -6. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6, so I know my numbers are 4 and 2. And I do the signs. The big one has to be negative because that matches the bottom. I have to subtract 2. I do the parentheses. So this is the letters t, t minus 4, t minus 2. And then I got to divide by a. A here is 1, which doesn't do anything. So this bottom is t minus 4, t minus 2. Alright, so step 1, factor everything done. Step 2, restrictions. Like the bottom only, I'm going to go in order. Change sign and divide. So -2, positive 2, positive 4, and positive 2, but that last one's a repeat, so I don't have to write it. Last thing is cross out. T minus 4, t minus 4, t plus 2, t plus 2, t minus 2, t minus 2. That's it. So all I have left on top is that 2 times 2. And when they're single numbers or single letters, you must multiply them back together. So top's really 4. The bottom is at t minus 2. Alright. Number 3 on the test. Looks like this. Simplify, it's division. Remember, we don't divide, we only multiply. The first thing I do is fix it to multiplication. I flip it. So the first fraction stays the same, times, flip that second fraction. Now it's like that last one we did, where it's fraction times fraction, 3 steps. First is factor. The top left is 2 terms. There's no GCF. It's linear, so it stays the same. So it just stays x plus 5. The bottom left is 1 term. It's 15. If it's 1 term, you break down to primes. Well, 15 is 3 times 5, if I do the tree branch stuff. The top right, 50, I'll do it over here. 50 is not prime. 50 is 5 times 10. And 10 is 5 times 2. So it's 1, 2, and 2 5s. This bottom right, x squared minus 25, 2 terms, no GCF. I can square root them, so do difference of squares. I get x and 5. I do 2 parentheses. X, 5, 5, plus, minus. Alright, so fully factored. Step 2 is restrictions. Looking at the bottom, I skip to 3 and 5 because there's no letters there. But I see that next to x cannot be negative 5 or positive 5. And I just change the sign and divide. And divide 1 doesn't do anything. And last, I cross out. X plus 5, x plus 5. 5 and 5. All that's up on top is at 2 times 5, which is 10. On bottom, it's 3 parentheses x minus 5. That's the answer there. Next one, number 4. Simplify. It's a fraction, divide fraction. So I'm going to have to flip the second fraction so I make it a multiplication. So the first fraction stays the same. Times, I'm going to flip that second fraction. So 4x squared plus 27x minus 7 on top. 3x squared minus 9x on bottom. Alright, then we do the same 3 steps. Factor everything. For the top left, we can do GCF. If I take out a 3, what's left is x plus 5. I have to check the 3. 3 is prime, so I can't break down. The x plus 5 is linear, so it's done. So top left is this. Bottom left, 4x squared plus 27x minus 7. 3 terms, no GCF. But I have to do the x method. So I'll do right here. On top is 4 times 97, negative 28. On bottom is positive 27. Find the 2 numbers. Well, because it's 1 off each other, I know it's 28 and 1. Positive 28, negative 1. I do the parentheses. Letters x, x plus 28, x minus 1. Divide by a is 4. Divide by 4 does make a difference. Reduce if you can. Well, the first 28 over 4 is 7. The second one does not reduce, so I move the 4 to the front. 4x minus 1. So that's the bottom. X plus 7, 4x minus 1. Times the next fraction. Well, hey, that top right is the same as the bottom left, so I'm not going to redo the x. I'm just going to use the same answer again. So x plus 7, 4x minus 1. The last one, the bottom right, 3x squared minus 9x, 2 terms. There's GCF. GCF is 3 and x. They both have x. What's left over is x minus 3. I take the GCF. 3x is prime, so I can't do anything to that. And the inside's linear, so I can't do anything to that either. So the bottom right is 3 times x minus 3. Alright, so step 1, factor, done. I'll just divide it. Step 2, restrictions. Looking at the bottom, I change the sign and divide. So negative 7, positive 1 over 4, 0, and positive 3. Remember, this x by itself, there's no parentheses. If there's nothing next to it to change sign, it means 0. And last is cancel out. Well, it cancels. 3's gone. X plus 7's gone. 4x minus 1's gone. That's it. So on top, I have x plus 5. On bottom, I have x, parentheses, x minus 3. That's the answer there. Alright, number 5. Simplify. Alright, now it's adding. So this is 5 steps. Remember, factor the bottom. Leave the top alone. This first one, 2 terms, no GCF, but I can do the difference of squares. I square both of them. x and 2, so that means 2 parentheses, xx, 2 plus minus. Alright, plus, leave some space when you're adding, because we have to fix it. Leave the top alone. Bottom x minus 2, 2 terms, no GCF, and since it's linear, it stays the same. Alright, so step 1 done. Step 2, LCD. I like the bottoms. I need each different factor a certain number of times. I go in order. The first thing I see is x plus 2. The most times it appears in single fractions once, so I only need one of them. The next thing is x minus 2. The most time it appears in a single fraction is once, so I only need one of them. Step 3 is match the LCD. The first fraction is not missing anything on the bottom. The second fraction, however, is missing the x plus 2. So that means top x plus 2, bottom x plus 2. Just save some time. Now, I'm going to make one big fraction so the bottoms are the same. This first thing is just x. It's not multiplying anything. Separated plus. The second fraction, the 5 and the x plus 2 are multiplying each other. So make sure you have parentheses. We're going to have to distribute in a second. And the bottom is just the LCD. Right. Well, now I'm going to distribute. The x stays the same, but this 5 is changed to both of these. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10 over the LCD. I gotta combine like terms. Well, x plus 5x is 6x plus 10 over the LCD. I need to do the restrictions because the bottom does have letters. I see x in my LCD, I see it twice. So there's 2 restrictions. X can't be -2 or +2. Again, I just change the sign and divide. And this one, if I want to do anything. Alright, number 6. Simplify again. Subtraction problem. Remember, we do not subtract. You fix subtraction to addition. And put a -1 up here. We did the same 5 steps from before. So leave the top alone, factor the bottom. 2 terms in linear, there's no GCF, so it stays the same. Plus, leave some space. The top, -1 times 3 is -3. The bottom, x minus 2 is 2 terms, no GCF, and it's linear, so you can't do anything else. Step 1's done. Step 2, LCD. I need 1 x plus 4. And I need 1 x minus 2. Step 3, make it match the LCD. The first fraction only has one thing, it needs 2 things in there. It's missing the x minus 2 over x minus 2. The second fraction is missing the x plus 4. Now they have the same denominator. I can make one big fraction. So that 5 and x minus 2 are multiplying each other, so it's 5 times x minus 2. Plus, separates it, that -3 is going to multiply the x plus 4 all over LCD. I got to distribute and combine terms. So this 5 has to distribute this. And this -3, make sure you know it's negative, distributing this. 5x minus 10. -3x minus 12 over LCD. Combine terms after you multiply and distribute. So 5x, let's box 5x minus 3x gives me 2x. And then -10 minus 12. That's minus 22 over LCD. I need restrictions. X cannot be -4 and +2. Alright, number 7. Determine the equations of any vertical asymptotes in this graph. Alright, we're graphing here. Remember, the vertical asymptotes are just our regular restrictions. This is rational, it's x on top, x on bottom, can on the side. The fraction I'm looking at it, I can't factor the top. So it stays the same. For the bottom, x squared plus 3x minus 10, that is 3 terms, quadratic. There's no GCF, but I can do x method. On top is -10, on bottom is +3. 2 numbers that multiply 10, and add up to 3. 5 times 2 is 10, 5 minus 2 is 3. The signs are positive, negative. Let's see, I did the parentheses, x plus 5, x minus 2. I divide by a is 1, it doesn't do anything. So my equation is 2x plus 5 on top over x plus 5, x minus 2 on bottom. So it's fully factored, substitute restrictions, and our restrictions are always the VA. So x cannot be -5 and positive. I just change sign and divide it. That's our VA. Alright, and on the test, they do want it separate. So they actually want you to say x cannot be -5, comma, x cannot be +2. Alright, so that'll conclude my first video. I'll continue this in the second video.